long and turn to my knees and go for like a tight waist grip. But oftentimes when we come out on this side, the guy's using a whizzer to keep us down. Okay, so I can't come all the way out here. If this is the case, I'm going to turn, I'm going to take my inside arm and grab his ankle. So I got this far, I shot to my underhook, I feel he has the whizzer, I can't come out. I grab the ankle, I expose it, and I'm hooking. Figure 4. I'm pulling my partner's far knee into my chest. I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to rotate my knees across. Once he falls, I scoop, post my hand on the floor for leverage or in front of his hip. I try to go as high as possible. When I circle this arm out, hold it, I'm not pulling it straight out. I bring it in and out. So I want to circle his head, and then from here, I'm going to work into a cradle position, back takes, mounts, and things like that.
Okay, so we used our bridge to make enough space to get our arm back inside. Now, when I bring my hand in here, I cup over his delt and his collarbone, and I grab my own knuckles and I reinforce here, okay? That way it puts pressure down on his shoulder, makes my elbow a little bit stronger, and then we're gonna give another bridge. I'm gonna pull my elbows into my body as I bridge. This lifts him up, and I pummel my hand into an underhook position. Now, the beauty of the underhook position is that this is where we learn from day one how to start recovering guard, right? I can start to turn to my knees, but the only problem is he's got this cross face, so that's back to the orientation. So what I need to do, if I can't recover guard here, is I need to use my underhook and my hand to move this person above my head, and I am gonna go underneath their chest, okay? If he makes no adjustment, I can use my leg and hitchhike straight out to a back take. If I feel like when I start to use this underhook and I come up and he puts me in a whizzer here, then I have to pay attention to what's going on, because if my arm was still in between his legs, this whizzer is a darce, okay? So when you guys shoot this underhook, the only thing that's protecting you from the darce is your distance between your chin and your chest, okay? And my arm on his back is the ratchet against that darce position. Again, if my hand's in the middle, which we'll talk about in a second, he's gonna start to attack a darce right away here, or a guillotine, because I'm on my side. So when I feel like I have the underhook and he's whizzering me, I'm gonna take my hand on the inside and I grab his ankle. I take my knee, so look at my inside knee here, I bring it close to his knee, and I'm gonna push up and expose. So I'm sliding my knee in at the same time I'm pushing up, and I'm gonna reach around and I'm gonna figure 4 my legs, okay? I bring his hips and thigh on top of my belly and hips, and I'm just gonna use my feet and knees to rotate my partner across. Once we come up, I scoop the leg closest to me inside. I put my hand on the floor, and then from here I circle inside to outside, and I'm gonna grab a cradle from this position.
All right, guys, so again, we've gotten our arms to that green zone. I bridge, I get to yellow, I'm framing, locking it in, bridge, green, okay? Now, remember, I'm thumb under his tricep, thumb inside his armpit, bicep, and I'm bumping him up so my head is now looking through his sternum. This will enable me to turn towards the guy. If I'm early, I should be able to reach for his waist. If I feel him whizzer me, my hand goes in between the legs and I catch his ankle. I scoop with my knee, figure 4 around his ankle, pull the weight to my chest, rotate over. Scoop, 1, post, circle the inside arm, around the head, cradle. 2, I get everything back to this green zone, okay, this underhook zone. I move him up because I need to deal with the cross face. He starts to whizzer me, okay? And this whizzer, I'm turning on my side, turning into a dart. I open my head. I clamp down on the wrist. Once I have this wrist trapped, I bring my elbow inside to his armpit. And I use this outside leg to pull his weight forward. Now he's directly above my body. I walk my hips in and rotate. Once his hips hit the ground, I grab the pants, I drive away. I post my knee behind his back, and as I elongate, I stretch the arm, step the head, knee comes in last, and I'm going to fall straight back into an arm lock position. I feel like when I get to this position here and I'm turning in, and I go for that sweep, and I feel him get heavy in his legs, I take my inside arm and I block the far side hip. I push against his femur, and I bring my head outside the hole, and I want to get above his hips. I need to raise above his hips, and I'm trying to flatten him out with my shoulders. If my hips are on the floor, I'm wasting my potential. My hips should be on top of or off the floor, weight on my partner. Now to finish this technique, 1, we have an easy wrist lock here. 2, a lot of people just start to turn, and what happens if I just turn is if he punches that arm straight, we're going to get caught in a scramble. So to finish, this elbow is just going to pinch on top of his elbow. Okay? Pinch, hips are up, and I'm just going to look over my shoulder to get that finish. Okay? If the guy does straighten it, sometimes I'll catch him here. So one more time, go slow. Sometimes I'm trying to fight here, and the guy's punching it straight. I hook it with the other arm. I let his elbow free, and I use my hip by his elbow. Okay? And what I'm doing is I'm catching the top of his arm, I'm grabbing his pants on the inside, or hooking his ankle, and I'm just going to rotate my hips to catch the bent arm lock on the escape. So again, if you're ever in this position, not to mention, I can take his back, wrist lock, shoulder lock. He starts to punch that arm out, he's super strong, I'm losing it. Boom, I bring my body on top of his elbow, I reach down and hook his ankle, and I'm going to rotate to my right. If he's got a gi on, just grab the gi pants and straighten that hip out, and then I can start turning. And if he does get his arm free here, I should be able to beat him to a back take.
All right, so I get my arm in, boom, I'm reinforcing, I get to that first green zone, okay? Now, when I have this green zone here, I'm using my thumb inside and my bicep here to move him above my head. Now I can turn into my partner. As I start to turn in, maybe my hand goes inside, or I didn't feel like I was able to get that tight arm around the waist. If he starts to reach in for a darce, what you need to do is follow it with your hand, okay? You bring your hand and you're catching with your C-clamp around his wrist. And it's important to understand that your length of the crown of your head is your secondary defense to the arm. If the guy's got a long arm, some guys will still darce you. Even if you're holding the wrist, he can still lock it up. But if as he shoots, I move my head as he shoots, it makes it difficult because I'm opening my head for him to lock up a strong position on me. And what I want to do when I feel this is I'm taking my elbow, right, and I'm gonna bring it underneath his body and stick it in his armpit. So if you look on the other side, I take my elbow and I bring it out and I bump his armpit. And what I want to do is I want to use my leg to pull his weight on top of me. And as I bump and pull, I'm going to walk my hips towards him until he falls to the other side. Now look, I'm still holding that same grip. Grab the pants, I push away, bring my knee up, step over, knee over, and I'm transitioning straight to an arm lock from the reversal. So again, I'm here, boom, I'm getting my arm into that green position. I move him above my head, so now I have range of motion in my neck. I start to turn, and he starts to shoot the darts. I follow it with my hand as I open my chin, okay, just so he can't collapse these 2 points together. I'm gonna take my elbow and I scoop up into his armpit, and I'm pinching my elbow down with my lat. So I'm getting a nice bite on his arm. From here, I use this outside leg to bump him forward, and I pull his weight on top of my body. See how my arm is still framing his hip on this side? My arm is framing and holding his hip up over here. I'm gonna walk my hips towards my partner. He's gonna rotate across my body until I dump him on the other side. I immediately switch to that pant leg. I push, and I bring my knee up, and as I elongate my body, I step over. And then I bring this knee inside, and I'm straight into an arm lock off of the escape. My side here, he reaches in, I catch that wrist. I take this hand, I'm trying to bump him across. He's resisting. I block, I bring my head out, and I come above him. You see how I bring my weight on top of his back? I want to flatten him out. I'm using my bridge to keep weight on him. I pinch my elbow down on top of his elbow, and I use my right leg here to bridge over my shoulder.